Hello Facebook ads people, I'm Konstantinos and today I have discovered a new lookalike method, the high society lookalikes. Well, actually not today. This is a method that I have discovered 1.5 months ago and I'm testing it heavily, and I can tell you that it's working very well. It's not like it's a crazy thing like the Advantage Plus, for example, which is working very well in several accounts. It is another method which is also working, but the most intriguing thing is the theory behind the method, and this is where we're going to focus, and then we're going to my PC to show you how to do it and so on. What if I have told you that when we're creating a lookalike 1% in United States, the 2 million is not the whole 1% lookalike that Facebook is creating for us? Let me explain. A lot of times we have been talking about the iOS changes and how we stopped using 1% lookalikes because now there are very small audiences and actually Facebook wants broader audiences. So I was thinking, can we actually use 1% lookalikes and actually target bigger audiences? And the first thing that came to my mind some months ago, it was the stacked lookalikes. But again, it was not working with 1%, it was working when you were stacking all the 10%. So I was still thinking and I was trying to understand how can we use again the 1% lookalike? Because in theory, the 1% lookalike is always the best one, and it's going to be the best one. It's the one that is closer to the event that we are picking so that we can create a lookalike. So I started experimenting and I have found this. I have found that if you create a worldwide lookalike of 1% and then you target the country that you want, the amount of people that you are targeting for United States, for instance, are not going to be 2.3 million like the default that we are seeing from 1% lookalikes when we create them immediately for the USA audience. Let me explain further. What if Facebook, when we create a lookalike audience, it's creating an audience of 20, 30, 40 million people, and then because by default it has to give us a 2.3 million, it's picking 2.3 million out of that and it's populating the lookalike for United States. What if the lookalike that is being created initially, it's much higher from the one that Facebook is giving to us by default? So by doing this simple observation in accounts, I started creating 1% lookalikes in different accounts, and do you know what I realized? That based on how big the ad account was, it was creating much bigger audiences when you were targeting United States. So what's the philosophy? You're creating 1% lookalike for worldwide, and then in the ad set level, when you're creating the campaign, you are actually targeting United States. So you can see that in most cases it's targeting 20, 30 million people. And this number is becoming higher and higher when you're using it in much bigger accounts, and when you're using it in much smaller accounts with less data, it's actually less potential reach. So that being said, it's very intriguing when you understand that just because by default Facebook in United States is going to create the 1% lookalike to 2.3 million, that the whole 1% lookalike that is being created initially, it's not 2.3 million but 20 million. And even if we go by the best intention of Facebook that it will give us the best 2.3 million people, I find it hard to believe that there are not more sales inside this 1% 20 million lookalike that has been created initially. Okay, so now let me show you what I'm talking about. So if we go from here, we go to the audiences. Okay. We can create custom audience, for example, create our custom audience that we want, and now we can go and we can create a lookalike out of it. Let's say that we take this one, okay? If we go here, we can create a lookalike, and this time, instead of putting here United States, okay, if we put United States, it's going to create an audience of 2.3 million. We know that. Now, if we come here and we click, instead of this, browse countries and select all, it's going to go and create 1% lookalikes, which is going to be for worldwide, okay, which is going to be 32 million. let's name this one, and it's going to create it. Now, when we have this one, we're going to have something like this, okay? We have a lookalike of purchase event, 179 days. It says between 26 to 31 million. This is what it happens. Now, this is a worldwide lookalike of 1% purchase. When we go inside in our campaign here, let's say we press here, and let's just give it a second because it wants to make my life difficult.
Thousands of tears later.
Okay, Facebook, let's press continue. Okay, now it wants to work with us. So when we go here, and of course we select our pixel, and we select our event, because Facebook apparently, now that I'm making a video, wants to make everything super complicated. Anyway, when we come here, we go to our custom audiences here, and we can add our lookalike audience. Let me put 1% so that it's going to appear. This is the audience, okay? If this audience targets United States, is not anymore the size that we see here, 26 to 31, it's now 21 to 25 million. If we use a 1% lookalike, let's take one from here. Let's use this one for example. The potential reach is 2.3 to 2.7 million. But if we use the 1% worldwide lookalike, like what I have done here, we are having immediately an audience of 21 to 25 million. That being said, we are able to use 1% lookalike by just targeting the country over here. By the way, it makes total sense because out of the 31 million people in the worldwide, most of the data is coming from United States. So what is populating is that most of this audience is going to be a United States audience that you can target. So we're having 1% lookalikes over here that we can use all over again, because 1%, as I said, is always going to be the best. And what we're also seeing here is that we can target 21 to 25 million just with one audience. Not to mention that you can take my stacked lookalikes method and put all of the worldwide 1% for the different custom audiences. If you don't know what the stacked lookalike is, you have to go and watch the video. I'm very excited with this because the only problem that they had so far with 1% lookalikes, it was that they were very small audiences, okay? And you cannot use them anymore because 2 or 3 million for now for United States for you to target, it's not a solution. This is why we started creating the stacked lookalikes. But right now we are having just one audience, 1% worldwide lookalike, which is 21 to 25 million. And by just targeting here the United States, we are able to use again 1% lookalikes. Is it working? Yes, it's actually working very well. I can tell you with several accounts that it's working very well. Of course, the accounts that I'm testing it, maybe they have a lot of data, even broad targeting is working there. It's working with crazy method, it's working very well. At the end of the day, for me, this is another method that you should use. Another thing which is very interesting for me is that the estimated audience size, it really varies from account to account. And let me show you another ad account on what is the estimate audience. So in this ad account, while the previous 1% worldwide was actually, I believe it was 26 to 31. On this ad account, we can see that the 1% lookalikes goes from 25 to 29. Why? The previous ad account had more data, it had more spend, it had a stronger pixel, a bigger pixel, and so on. So I realized that the more an ad account has spent, the higher the estimated audience size of the 1% lookalike is going to be. And that means that it's also changing inside here, because over here in the 1% lookalike that I have created targeting United States, you can see that we have 24 to 28 million, while in the other one the estimated was 21 to 25. You can actually see that over here the estimated reach in United States is different. So the full potential in the bigger account, it was higher, but when we are targeting United States in the other account, we could see that we can target more people. That means that the lookalikes that are being created, they are being created based on the amount of data that they are having from United States. And that means that when you use United States, you are having a different potential reach based on your different ad accounts. Of course, the differences are going to be small. I have seen one ad account, I think that it was 19 million, not even 20 million, but most of the times it's between 20 and 25 million, around, and 28 million. Around that number, you will see the estimated audience size. But for me, this is also intriguing because at the end of the day, it means that Facebook is creating different sizes for the lookalikes, and then by default, it populates some of these people from these bigger audiences that it creates so that it can create the 1%, 1 to 2%, 2 to 3%. I think that there are more people that are going to buy in these bigger audiences. You can test it on your different accounts and see what audience size you're populating. You can test it alone with a crazy method. You can test it alone by creating a CBO campaign that you're going to have 1% worldwide purchase, 1% worldwide checkout in different, and so on in different ad sets. And you can also test it with stacked lookalikes by using 1% lookalikes, using the stacked and then crazy method. If you know my different videos, you should be able to understand what I'm talking about. So that's all I had for you about the high society lookalikes method. We are able now to use again the 1% lookalike. It's working in several accounts. I must say that it's not working in super beginning accounts, but it makes sense, right? Because the super beginner accounts, they're not the accounts that lookalikes are going to work anyway. So maybe it's a safe bet because after some point the pixel is going to work even with broad targeting or any lookalike, but at the end of the day it's also another method, another thing that is going to work. And to be honest with you, there is one ad account right now that only the high society lookalike is actually working and the stacked lookalikes are not working. This is why I always want to give you more and more methods, because something is going to work for you, something is going to work for another person and another ad account. For me, the most intriguing here is the whole philosophy behind it, and the fact that we know that now Facebook is creating based on the data that another account has, much bigger audiences, and this is what intrigues me, and I'm going to keep testing it. Test it, let me know in the comments if it worked for you. If you want to learn more about Facebook ads, you can check my book or my free course, and until we meet again guys, be creative and be consistent.